Hello students, welcome to your professionalism modules. This first one is all about getting into the teaching profession, and specifically module 1A is focused on creating a professional resume. So here's what we're going to cover in this module. We're going to talk about what the real purpose of a resume is. We're going to talk about what should be in a resume, some tips for making your resume better, and then also a cover letter. A lot of us are not familiar with that, but you will have to write one, and it goes along with your resume. So first, what is the real purpose of a resume? You really want to make your resume worthy of more than 6 seconds, and I know that sounds terrifying, 6 seconds. And that's because studies show that the average recruiter will only spend maybe 10 seconds or less on your resume. 6 is actually the average, which means they are not reading it in detail. So if they're quickly skimming over it, you want it to be easy to read. You want to really show them right off the bat that you are qualified. The first level that your resume will go through is the human resources and recruitment stage. They are just determining if you are qualified or not. They don't decide whether or not they like you for the position. Then it moves on to a second level where a different employee will look it over. Maybe an administrator or a different human resources recruiter will look over your resume and decide if you are going to be interviewed. So you want to think about that first person. They have no one-on-one contact with you. You are just a name on a paper. You want it to be quick, easy to read, short and to the point, and you want it to be very obvious that you are qualified. You really want to make a good impression. Keep it very focused and practice when you're done looking at it and seeing, could I read this in a few seconds and decide that I know everything I want to know about this person. So what should be in the resume? There are several kinds of resumes out there. Chronological are the kind that go from your most recent work to your first work, in that order, from backwards, your current state to backwards to your beginning of your time as an employee or as a worker. Those ones are common. However, in education, it might not be as relevant because you may not be coming in with a lot of experience in that field. A functional resume is really more what we're after, although we're probably going to combine that, and that's what a combination one is. A targeted resume is a little bit more focused on a very specific skill set, or we're going to really hone in on a certain type of job, or maybe for somebody who has tons and tons of experience and really only wants to get a certain kind of position. That's not really for you because you're looking for general teaching positions. So as someone entering the profession, you will probably use a combination one, like I said, which means you're going to list your work experience chronologically from most current backwards. And then you're also going to focus on the field of education. That means that if you have a lot of experience in education and you also worked at Subway when you were a teenager, maybe you don't need to include the Subway job. If you don't have a lot of work experience and you currently work at Subway or Starbucks or something like that, you might want to include that, but we're going to talk about how to include it and what to focus on so that you are showing the employer that you're going to be a good teacher. So, what should be in one of these combination resumes? Let's talk about that. First, you have to have your name and contact info. Your full legal name needs to be present on there. This is basically going in their records. They're going to start looking you up. They will Google search you. They will look you up online. They will compare it to your transcripts, to your letters, to your references. All these things need to match. So you have to use your real name, whatever that is, if you're not using it normally. You have to have a professional sounding email. I have seen a lot of people ask me for letters of recommendation, and on their resume has some kind of goofy sounding email, and you really don't want that. Get one that is just your name or some variation of your name that makes it easy to tell it's you. You always have to have a phone number. If you don't have a phone or you are not willing to put your real phone number on there for some reason, you can get a Google voicemail, although those seeking teaching positions, it's not likely that that would be the case. So you really want to put a current one that you can answer. Make sure your voicemail is something that works and says your name on it. I've actually heard of employers that call, and when there's no name on the voicemail, they don't bother keep calling back because they don't know if they have the right number. So make sure it says your name on there instead of just a phone number or something silly. You want to have a summary of your qualifications. Now, this is kind of a new version of what we used to do on a resume. We used to have objectives, but now they've switched to this more concise version where you just summarize all of your qualifications. What makes you a good candidate for this position? What are you good at? What are your skills? Those are the things you want to list carefully here. And I want you to think about special qualities that you could share here that set you apart from other people. Keep in mind, you're a liberal studies major, you're going to have a degree in liberal studies, you're probably going to be going for a multiple subject credential. Well, so is everybody else who applies for that job that you are applying for. So you want to think about what makes you different. Maybe in your option you studied a certain area, maybe you're bilingual, maybe you have a certain set of experience, maybe you're great with technology, maybe you've coached sports, maybe you're really engaged in your community in another way through volunteer work. All those things matter, and think about what kind of special skill sets you've developed through that work. Then you're going to have your work history, and your work history is going to go in that reverse chronological order, meaning the job you have now or the most recent job. If you are young and don't have a position right now, you're just a student, that's okay, but get some volunteer work that you can list there. That is relevant, so you want to put that on there and keep volunteering at local schools or programs with kids. If you do have a job, you're going to put your most recent first and then work your way back. But you are also going to divide it into two sections. You're going to divide it into your related work experience and then additional professional experience. This is best for people who have maybe you're going into a second career, you already had a lot of other jobs doing other things, and now you're getting into education. You know, I've had a lot of students that are servers at restaurants, even people former military, or you work at a bank, or you work at Target, you work at Starbucks, whatever it is, you've worked somewhere for a long time, you've got that work experience, you want to show that off, but it's not education. So you would put that in a separate section. The last section is your education, so you want to list your degree, and we'll talk about how to list that and how to list certain accomplishments within your education. You definitely want to put those on there as well. So here are some tips, the do's and the don'ts, okay? Definitely list your experience and skills that are specific to this job, only the ones that are relevant. If you worked at Subway and you were the fastest sandwich maker, that isn't relevant for being a teacher. But if you developed really good skills for working with the public and resolving conflicts or handling problems under pressure, those are the transferable skills that you can take from a job like that and put it towards education. You're going to list your degrees and academic accomplishments. I want to be very clear on that, only accomplishments. So you see over here, high school graduation. Once you have a degree, nobody cares that you graduated high school. Don't list it. We assume that that's the case. You don't want to list your GPA unless it's impressive. There's nothing wrong with just leaving it off if it's not a 3.0 or higher. You want to think about other accomplishments. Did you present at Student Research Day? Did you participate in a club? Did you, were you on a debate team? Were you part of some special award? Did you get honor roll? Whatever it is. Dean's List. Did you get recognized somehow? Put those things on there. Those are important. You want to show those off. You want to use a professional sounding email. I already talked about that. So no beach bunny or, you know, anything cutesy, nothing funny, no nicknames. When I was young, I used to be called AJ. I don't use that email anymore because nobody knows who that is. When they look at it, I want to use one that says Angela Macias. Be sure that you have an up-to-date set of contact info and phone number. If you moved, change your address on there. Make sure your phone number works. Make sure the voicemail works. Again, no silly songs or jokes on your voicemail. My husband used to have a really goofy one, and obviously for work he changed that, right? So you want to fix that. Don't leave any kind of stuff where they're going to call you and laugh or be confused or not take you seriously. You want to keep your resume simple and organized. If you want to use a template, that's fine. There are a lot of really good ones. Even in Microsoft Word, you can just go into the templates and pick a resume, and those look great. Do not use pictures. A lot of people put their picture on a resume. Not necessary, especially for a teaching position. You're not applying to be a model or an actor. They don't need to see your face. So don't put your picture. I think it's fine to have some color, but don't go crazy with it. No colored paper. Don't put a whole bunch of borders and decorative things all over it. Simple, one or two colors. Keep it really straightforward. That's the best way to do it. And most of those templates include things like that. Ask for help editing. It's really not going to do well for you if you turn in a resume that has grammatical errors or spelling errors, things like that. That is absolutely a no-brainer. We have to have somebody check it. Even I have someone check my work before I submit it somewhere because I want to make sure that there's nothing I missed. Okay. Last but not least, we talked about cover letters. This is a time for you to introduce yourself to the employer. A resume is very impersonal. It's just kind of like a list of the things you can do. But a cover letter is where you get to really be yourself and show your personality and what kind of worker you're going to be so that people can see how they're going to get along with you. You want to think about how could you emphasize those special accomplishments or skills you have that maybe don't come across in the resume as well as you would like. You want to think about your personal traits. What kind of personality are you going to bring to the work environment? Express that. I think that that's fine. You want to call yourself ambitious? Do you want to call yourself a team player? Do you want to call yourself whatever? Think about what fits for you, and you can emphasize that in your letter. You want to have a lot of opportunity here to just spell out what kind of person you're going to be to work with. And a lot of times when you submit these applications online, there's two drop boxes. One is for the resume and one is for the letter. If they don't give you a spot to turn in the letter, I would suggest you just include it anyways, because sometimes an employer will not want a letter, and if that's the case, they'll just throw it away and no harm done. But if they don't ask for it specifically, but you give one and you attach it with your resume as one document, then they will look at it. So this is your chance to really communicate with them what kind of person you are, and you want to make sure that that gets in there somehow if they're going to look at it. You want to be very business traditional with this format, nothing cute, no fancy decorative elements. This is a business letter, so it's very boring looking. Size 12 font, Times New Roman, 1.5 for double space, so it's easy to read, aligned left, and address it to whoever's listing the job. So it might be human resources, or it might be the district administration. It's up to you, but you have to look at what that posting says. If it says to address things to a certain person, then put that person's name. Make sure that this letter is, again, edited and checked for mistakes. As always, we never want to turn in anything that makes us look careless about our work. All right, thank you for your time. Please take some time to go look at some examples that are provided in this module, see what other people have done with their resumes, and then go take a crack at your own. Make that resume shine, make that cover letter personal, and bring it to your group or your class so you can get some feedback. Good luck.